I apologize for the lateness of the stream. I was knocked out again. Uh, it's like every single day there's a new scandal. Like, just, it's incredible. Oh, let's get this started. President Trump slammed House Oversight Committee Chairman Elijah Cummings, Democrat from Maryland, on Twitter early Saturday as a brutal bully, claiming the longtime congressman's Baltimore district is far worse in cap locks and more dangerous than the southern border. Representative Elijah Cummings has been a brutal bully, shouting and screaming at the great men and women of Border Patrol about conditions at the southern border, when actually his Baltimore district is far worse and more dangerous. Trump tweeted, his district is considered the worst in the USA. I didn't actually get to read any of these yesterday because I was out and about. As proven last week during a congressional tour, the border is clean, efficient, and well run, just very crowded. Trump continued. Cumming district is a disgusting rat and rodent infested mess. If he spent more time in Baltimore, maybe he could help clean up this very dangerous and filthy place. And Trump asserted that Cummings district, which encompasses downtown Baltimore, was the worst one in the U.S., claiming that the Maryland city was corrupt and that no human being would want to live there. Okay, so as you could expect, this elicited a lot of people to be pissed off and angry. I'm only going to play one clip throughout this entire stream, and it's all with Jake Tapper because I thought what he said was funny, and I don't even like him, so this is kind of that should tell you something about like the quality of this comment. Oh, let me grab this.
Cummings tweeting that his majority African American congressional district, which includes parts of Baltimore, is, quote, a disgusting rat and rodent infested mess. If Cummings spent more time in Baltimore, maybe he could help clean up this very dangerous and filthy place. No human being would want to live there, unquote. 718,000 human beings live in Cummings district, and President Trump is their president as well, though he apparently views them and the city of Baltimore as someone else's responsibility. Moreover, President Trump attacked those 4 freshman congresswomen of color under the guise of their criticisms of the U.S., which the president is doing here as well, of course, unless he does not believe Baltimore is part of America. Joining me now in Detroit, 2020 presidential candidate Senator Bernie Sanders. And Senator Sanders, I know you want to talk about issues, but I do also want to talk about what President Trump said about your former colleague in the House, Elijah Cummings, and his district being, quote, a disgusting rat and rodent infested mess that no human being would want to live in. What's your response?
Jake, it's unbelievable that we have a president of the United States who attacks American cities, who attacks Americans, who attacks somebody who's a friend of mine. Elijah Cummings is one of the most decent and outstanding members of the House of Representatives. He fights every day to improve life in his community. I do find it interesting that when we have rural Republican districts where life expectancy is going down, where downtowns are boarded up, where people are struggling, and people are struggling in rural America, they're struggling in urban America, they're struggling in suburban America. Our job is to bring people together to improve life for all people, not to have a racist president who attacks people because they are African Americans. That is a disgrace, and that is why we're going to defeat this president.
Yeah, it cuts off rather abruptly. Okay, we have one person come in, one person get out. Ruben says, doesn't CNN also regularly insult those same women of color? Yeah, I mean, remember, AOC is mostly known for what the Green New Deal and Medicare for All, and Tapper did a fact check that was like panned the world over because it was the opposite of one. So I would say they're not too far off, but really, I just want to clarify something. I think this comment that Trump made was stupid, but I mean, it's Trump, so I'm so used to it that it's more amusing to me that people are responding in the way they are. Like, you had Warren get up there and say this is a disgusting comment. You had Pelosi come out and issue a statement. Like just every single one of them is trying to, show off how outraged they can be. And like I'm sorry, I don't care anymore. Like, when they get up there and they say this policy is bad, okay, I'm in. But you're gonna sit here whining because he was talking about getting back at a congressman's district. It's like, guys, he does that to all these different people. Like if he were, with me, I just don't get the point of, because I think of the lower branch of Congress, the House, as being lesser than the Senate, which it is, but there's more people there. So if I were Cummings, be like, wow, I got targeted by the president. He called me out in particular. I'm one of a handful of people that is not the Speaker of the House that he decided to, specifically name. Because like, if you watched any of the material he's put out, he hasn't really. I think I've heard him mention AOC. I've heard him mention Omar, and then Talib one time when during the impeach that what scandal. Other than that, it's really like he does not talk about members of the House. So I would think if someone has something this big happen where, highest office person makes a comment about you, good or bad, and since you're of the opposite party, it's probably going to be bad, it would help you in your district. That's why there actually is a new hashtag on Twitter that's been going around. It's like, we're Baltimore or something. It's been popping off because most people that are over there are not reacting negatively to this. Trump is a horrid person, but is not a racist. Most of his bigoted statements are based on him being a brain dead moron who has no self awareness. Yeah, I mean, like this is my thing, right? When that RussiaGate stuff was going on, I kept saying you can't have a media, you can't have liberals, Democrats, whatever you want to call people that I don't see as progressive that whine about this. You can't have these individuals telling you Trump is stupid, he doesn't know what he's doing, but then in the same breath, they're telling you he colluded with the Russians, and they had this tower meeting where they cast a diabolical scheme to win this election in 5 months. Like you just those things don't go together. I think actually, if you remember, Ruben, that Trump tower meeting, I think that might have been the same day as the California primary. Let me look. I want to just see if that's true because it's like it was like June 6th of 2 years ago. Let me look it up. I think that would just be really funny because it's like, as I've mentioned before, I voted for Sanders. So as I was trying to end this system, they were conspiring on a way to make sure that the Democratic controlled White House was came to an end. That's find that really amusing. I'm sorry, and I don't mean to derail. It's really hard to talk about any of his comments without just regurgitating stuff from the past because I don't know that much about Cummings. Like the only time I ever saw him do anything of, I guess, high magnitude was during the 8 hour. If you remember this, Ruben, it was the day after Biden announced he wasn't going to enter the 2016 election. Uh, they had Hillary go up and testify for like 8 hours to a bunch of different members of the House, and I think he was notable in that regard because he had like basically a lashing out at just what was the structure of what was going on. I'm just saying that's my only exposure to him in the past. I just find that funny. I was going to ask the same thing. What was Cummings even known for up until this incident? Yeah, I'm telling you, he was only known for being on this committee. Um, and for like a kid, I'm not gonna, I don't want to like label him as being the same as Pelosi and Hoyer because he, to my knowledge, has actually teamed up with Sanders to introduce some prescription drug bills. There's actually a press conference from earlier this year, it was back in I think January, where he mentioned that they tried to meet with Trump over in this, to like fulfill this idea while he was in his first year, and they haven't heard from him since. I thought that was so funny. Like, new phone, who this? We're settling the big pharma, so we're gonna just cut you out. Oh, I was gonna ask you, Ruben, to clarify why you didn't like I remember you said you didn't like Amash because he screamed like you thought he was too pro impeachment or something. You gave a reason. I didn't get to read it, or I didn't really see that much of it before it it was cast away. So I was gonna ask you to reiterate what it was. Oh, okay. So so I just found out. Okay, Ruben says I thought Amash was a generic never Trump person. Well, look, never Trump Republican. My biggest thing that kind of like causes me to defend him is because he has been consistent in opposing these foreign interventions. One of the few Republicans in the House that backs getting out of Yemen. Like we can go down the list, but my point is that I principally have some kind of higher opinion of him than most of the other Republicans because of the thing with these conflicts overseas. Mark says, "What's up? I missed the live stream. The live show. Damn, yeah, it wasn't as long as the other ones. Like the one I usually do is like an hour and a half. I only went for an hour, and that was because I thought I was gonna have a whole uh, hour and a half to do this thing, and then this person came and they were making noises and stuff. It's like, damn it! Basically, somebody left, and then I was like, oh, I get to show up. Let's see. Ruben says, "Oh, I didn't know Amash was against Yemen. Okay, I have a higher opinion of him now. Yeah, it was him. It was Massey, the one from Kentucky. It was Walter Jones. Remember the one that died? That was like the only. Man, he was such a gem. But there were a handful of them that just continuously were opposed to these conflicts, and that's why I said that I can put up with crappy views on social issues if it means them doing stuff that is actually in favor of one of my positions. It's kind of like, I said before, I'd let these people, yeah, ran as well, like all these people were freaking out over him, and that 9/11 responders bill, which I to an extent get, but it's the same problem where they're looking at one vote and they're treating it like it's the holy grail. Again, Collins in Maine, they loved her when she voted against the education secretary. They loved her when she voted to keep their precious Obamacare. But then when she decides to vote for Kavanaugh, oh my God, it's time for to be, you know, hung out to dry and you know have your resignation called for. That sucks. Sorry, me and this other person were trying to like negotiate something. Um, and I guarantee you, after next week, no one's going to talk about this incident because it's not. So let me tell you something about just like the U.S. and people get pissed off, and I really don't care anymore. We have a system that is designed specifically to basically automatically make it to where if it's done to a woman, it's magnified in terms of how awful it is. So Cummings, gets called a bully, and his district is spoken about so horribly, and people will be pissed off at that for maybe a day, right? But then you have these four congresswomen get insulted, and that will revert. People might talk about that for another 10 years, and it's not because he said anything worse about them. Um, like you're going to tell this person that their district is a rat infested place, and the other one's basically both comments are just really bad. Is what I'm saying. But because it's the other group is female, and it's like, oh my God, the patriarchy is imposing its way on us. You get screwed. It's just like in Britain when Theresa May tried to say that Corbyn called her a stupid woman during one of the I guess uh, the meetings of Parliament where they have their prime minister's questions, and it was funny because it's like you guys are really trying to like you're on the opposing side. What do you expect him to call you? You probably said he was a stupid man before. It's not, it's something to get freaked out over. But that's the kind of like parliamentary tricks people play when they're trying to exploit gender for points. Just like when I'll never forget that primary. Every time you didn't want Hillary to win. Why are you opposed to the first female president, to the first viable female? It's like go away, just leave me alone. This is so lame. I was so excited to have this call, and then person canceled after all. Oh, whatever. People just, I have to say the reason the stream wasn't as long also is because I started it earlier. It's usually at 6, but I went out to eat at an earlier time, so I started streaming earlier. And it was really funny because my friend, the one that came over here, he was like, "Oh, I'll show up at 7," and like I was like, "Oh, I got 2 hours to do this thing," and then this other person comes like, "All right, let me end this quicker," and then he doesn't even show up for like another 2 or 3 hours. It was crazy. I was like, "Wow, I just have to keep waiting and waiting and waiting." Okay, Ruben says, "So I'm reading about Hillary Clinton's own record, and she has made it a lot of." Yeah, you don't remember with her and Bill saying that Obama would fizzle out like Jesse Jackson? It's like who the like they really didn't think that was a problem. But watch if it had been me saying that she would have fizzled out like who's the woman that ran for president? That what's her name? Carol Mosley from Illinois. The one of the she was one of like the last few people to hold Obama's Senate seat before he got to it. If I had said she would fizzle out like her, I would have been called a sexist in like 2 seconds. But my point is that people when you're sensible enough to get how certain statements might translate, you generally don't say them, even if you think them or you don't care one way or the other. Yeah, man, I wouldn't be surprised if we turn our TVs on tomorrow and they're talking about some kind of budget agreement or some other policy, and it really pisses me off because this is such an excellent opportunity to look at Cummings' record, like from the analytical standpoint of these various networks, but they don't want to do that. They just want to keep throwing back and forth this statement that was made and like interviewing a million people, different, all saying the same thing. Oh my God, this comment was so horrible. Like, okay, then what the hell do you? What is the point of hearing it from like 50 people's mouths? Like, I don't understand the point of that. Every single person running against Trump is going to go, I am very disappointed with the comments for the president. And they're always going to drag it out. They're always going to like have it be a little speech. It's like, dude, we don't care. Some of us just really want to see what is done on the part of the administration as it relates to actual substantive issues, and then go from there. I didn't call him that, sir. So he just doesn't have a filter and says what comes to his head. While I could, wish I could be his spokesperson. I think about this. I thought you said because remember, like the text is small. It was like I thought you said you wished you could be his like be in his head or his imagination or whatever. Before anything else is said, let me get this out of the way. Hey, wait, what? Oh man, hey, I'm gonna have to do a stream either this week or next week about how AOC is like super duper overrated. I'm so sick of seeing and hearing her name everywhere I go. I feel like one of these days I'm gonna just wake up and there's gonna be like a billboard outside about her or something like everywhere, man. Damn. Ever since June of last year, just and since she got in office, just this. And it's like it's not even her doing anything more than any of the other people. They just give her this insane amount of free press and coverage. They actually did a poll that And this is, I think, really significant. She was found to only be unknown to about 20% of Americans, um, whereas Omar is like unknown to 30%, and Talib is unknown to 40. It was really interesting just how many, like how it shows because she's been in the news so damn much, they've made her well known. Oh my God. And apparently in that same poll, they found that both Sanders and Biden have a 3% lacks only 3% of Americans don't know who they are, which even that to me is crazy. Like, what kind of rock do you have to live under to not know who either of those are? Forget liking them, forget, whatever. Just who would at this point still not know who the vice president was for 8 of the last 10 years? It's weird. I'm thinking about sending you a cardboard cutout of her when you come get it going, waiting for you. Oh no. Oh no, you can keep that. Rand was brought up earlier by Ruben. On his campaign website for his presidential campaign, he actually did have it was like a not a billboard. It was a birthday card that I think was as big as my hands, like from where they are. It was this big, and you could put someone's name on there, and you could send it to them. It was really creepy to me, just how huge that thing was, and the fact that someone would even like think to buy that. Nobody in my family knows who AOC is. Not trying to say that she isn't getting too much exposure. I'm just pointing this out. Yeah, I agree. I look, like I said, I wouldn't mind this kind of coverage if it meant it was also done for other people. I've been a fan of Rose since he's been in the House. I can name multiple things he's done legislatively, and I'm really pissed off that like he doesn't get anywhere near this coverage, and he's got a bigger record of doing progressive leaning things. It's stupid to me, but whatever. People are dumb, so they're gonna keep on putting their face everywhere, and I wouldn't be surprised if Japan starts making an anime adaptation of her congressional tenure. It gets that ridiculous. This is absolutely insane. Since personal message. That's why I plan to run for politics. I mean, hey, whatever. I'm going to be the best political figure because I'm quick-witted. Okay. Like no one else who's ever been in there is quick-witted. That's like a brand new character trait. And if you want to toot your own horn, fine by me. I'm not upset at all. Dude, I still love the fact that this whole thing breaks out because I remember when the other one came out, the tweets about go back to your own country. I did the stream really really quickly, but because so much stuff happened yesterday, I couldn't get around to it, and I didn't want it to be something where it's like, it happens this day and then you get a stream 2 or 3 days, you get like a cutout of the live show that reacts to that because I thought it was interesting enough to be its own thing without having to resort to playing chop and shop. Okay, it's like Bane, I was born a troll. I didn't see outside until I was a man. By then, it was nothing to me but blinking. What? So you're confirming that you actually are the actor Tom Hardy, since you just said it's like Bane, and then you're gonna turn into Venom in 6 years, and then you're gonna have a movie that gets negative reviews, but then somehow grosses over $800 million. It becomes, I think, it was the seventh highest grossing of last year. And then you're gonna fight Carnage in 2 years, which was the plan for the first movie, but they got rid of him so they could get a villain that looked like. I still can't get over. And this is a little side note. I hate that Carnage was planned for that movie and they cut him out because they wanted a symbiote that was dark. That's so stupid. Whatever. Sony is, they make all kind of dumb decisions. I'm not surprised. Their level of intellect is not something they're known for. That's why that's why what two what is it, like 40% of the Spider-Man movies they made suck. Was psychotic. Let's see. What we should really be worried about is that the media keeps trying to paint Trump as anti-Semitic, despite people, despite finally being the most pro-Israel president we've ever had. And the media's not trying to paint him as anti-Semitic. It's his party that's trying to paint everybody who talks about the Israeli government as anti-Semitic. I mean, like, I never thought I'd live to see the day where if you say anything about a foreign government, we mentioned this before in the stream, a secular non-entity, you get called anti-Semitic. And again, if you're me, you get called that while you're trying to make a Jew the next president. I keep bringing it up because like that's the contradiction here. Well, no, it would be still what he's talking about is, like, recognizing the Golan Heights and moving the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem, stuff like that. He's not saying that the people of Israel or anything. He's just talking about in what ways the government has been aided by his tenure. Charismatic and honest. Oh man, Mark is probably. I guess he had one too many last night. He was like, "It's time to hit the hay. Let me just get a few more drinks in." And now he's waking up and typing this stuff. It's part of the media trying to claim that Trump is the new, is whatever he's paid to be. He's like a political, what is that? Hooker. Hooker. All of the foreign leaders are cooping a field. Putin, Kim, Mohammed bin Salman. Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, Salman would get any of these presidents because they're all like bootlickers for Saudi Arabia. That's why, again, we've been bombing Yemen for 4 years because they've done nothing to us but toppled the government that was friendly with Saudi Arabia. So, if he's one of those, which I'm not saying he is, and he's not alone, that's a nice little wonderful U.S. pattern that we've all become accustomed to. Saudi Arabia only currently is oil. Only currency is oil. Yeah, I mean that's the reason we put up with them in the first place. It's not because there's some kind of proponents of human rights. They have some excellent policies or anything. So it's all good. The media from both sides of the fake spectrum keep raising the bar against each other over which qualifies as anti-Semitic. Well, that's why it's stupid, because when you keep calling someone something and it's over things they said, or rather it seems like anything they say that you don't like gets labeled that, you're going to destroy the meaning and the usage of that term as far as how seriously it's taken by people. If this comment was, spotlight as much as it has been over the last day, and they hadn't done that for what 20 or 30 other things he said since being in office, I would care. But because it's literally every other week they're whining about something he said, it doesn't matter. Remember at Vegas, you had this shooting where over 56 people died. Oh, it was a miracle. You had people saying, "What the hell are you talking about?" To where he had to recant it. Um, then let's not forget my favorite windmills. The noises of windmills cause cancer. I'll never get over that one. That was hilarious. It was so bad that the bootlicking two Republican senators from Iowa had to come out and like condemn his comment. That's how you know you screwed up. Yeah, when you hear that noise, it's over. Oh man, I still. Or remember the other one where he was like, I won the presidency on my first try, even though he ran before? Literally trying to retcon the real world. Remember in comic books, they retcon some story they didn't like. They go, "Oh, that didn't happen." That's what he tried to do with his first run. He was like, "No, that one did not occur." But my point I'm trying to make is that we've repeatedly had him make statements that people don't understand, think are weird. Various words you can use to describe it, to where I can't take any of this stuff seriously because it's just a regurgitating of the same point, which is that he says things that people have a problem with. Others more than me though, because I don't care. Like it's a comment that I think is dumb, but I'm not going to sit here and spend 2 days talking about it. like we just had an announcement that they're going to have a trade deal with another one with Canada, not Canada, with excuse me, the UK, or with the new prime minister. Uh, and it's like you guys would rather talk about this than that, or like if you're going to talk about this, why can't you do both? Why does it always have to be one story per day, and then like any actual other thing just gets yanked or ignored? Like it's stupid. So again, that's why I like reading the news because you can just click whatever you think is most interesting and leave the other stuff there. Let's see, from a bighorn. Keep thinking it's funny when you're. Oh, Be Still says, keep thinking it's funny when you're hit by a high frequency cancer. It won't be so funny from a bighorn. Yeah, when that bighorn gets me, I'm just gonna like write my last will and testament. Be my final day. That's the end of it all. God, I'm just mystified. Like sometimes I'll turn on CNN and just like as a social experiment, just watch how much they spend talking about this. And like the fact that I think I almost when there's a new scandal, I want to count how many different politicians put out a statement in reference, like just how many people are going to grandstand and talk about how grossed out and disgusted and flabbergasted and humiliated and disillusioned they are about this. Like just I would love that to see the number. Uh, Trump doesn't know what he's doing. Has out. Okay, he's out of his element. That's why these random acts and policies keep coming. But yeah, but it's like the news chooses for this to be covered as much, and then actual things he does, a lot of stuff I'm not even a fan of, to get completely ignored. Hell, I think on Fox they're probably talking about just as much, except they're trying to like defend him. So, you know, it, it's two sides of the same coin where there's a story that I don't think is important that the media thinks is, and they just cover it all damn day. That's why I only played the clip of Sanders reacting to it because he is the only one I actually want to hear from that, you know, has something I'm interested in actually seeing stated. Everybody else just whatever. It's like, oh, look at this random presidential candidate. What do they have to say? Oh my God, I'm so grossed out. Wow, you sound like 30 other people. It's almost like they're playing like a mind game of like everyone has to sound the same, or everyone's like unintentionally sounding the same. And I hate when I type having to ask someone like 30 questions or several questions back and forth because it just makes me feel like that you know you get annoyed of the interview. Okay, Fox News is really shoving their head. You can't defend Trump and make sense, and that's why they sound like Infowars at this point. Ruben says, I remember when Trump first announced running for president, the media kept bragging about Trump's statements about, oh yeah, man, look, I saw so many different editorials of when that came out, and you can actually still see them if you go on Google, on the Google News, and you type in custom range. I remember so many different editorials being written about that particular comment. He had this, what, 40, 50-minute speech, and you just want to cut out that one piece. And no, I'm not talking about him going to the Grand Line. I'm speaking specifically about the single piece of that speech that they decided to bring up and mention over and over. Okay, of our foreign policy, and this was what the media claims is going too far. Yeah, remember we kill one you kill one person, it's murder. You kill several thousands, it's foreign policy. Oh man, I love that because it's so true. You go down the street and slice somebody up. Oh my God, that's a horrible person. Your government murders thousands of people. Well, they probably did deserve it, and we were over there for a good reason. Yeah. Not so many people just they astound me in their contradictions and ways of doing stuff. Okay, Ruben says, I still remember the anti-Arab propaganda shows and movies from the Bush years. Yeah, I mean, all that stuff is still around. It's not being played as much because people kind of. I do like the fact that right after Bush, you get somebody with an Arabic name. I always find that funny. Be Still and No says there is no moral gauge. America is now a war zone. Mm. Between like the regular citizens being ambivalent to all of these conflicts we have, where we're killing all these random innocent people, having a daily mass shooting, that's pretty accurate, man. Like we're a war zone in both what we do to each other here and what we do to people that don't even live here. So now it's anti years. Ryan says bullying is getting worse. It's a big issue. I've never seen Brian before. It is funny to like see someone describe a more than middle-aged man as a bully, and you're the president and he's a member of the House. So I said I can't even take people when you get pissed off. I think it's so dumb. It's like whatever, man. What else is there to brag on about this? I think we've pretty much done everything. Yeah, this is as good as I think it's gonna get. So, are there any last comments, concerns, questions, theories, speculations? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Well, I'm doing this from tomorrow, so it's all good. Hmm. Take this thing back. I'm really like negotiating the speaking to someone. That's crazy. I can't think of anything else to say right now. Uh, so it's agreed. It's a dumb comment. They need to stop acting like it's some kind of KKK statement. It's just a stupid comment. That's not new with him. So I just hope that it fizzles out and we get back to talking about what he's actually doing in office. That's not rhetoric. Because a lot of these people were actually pointing this out. The reason the media rags on this, and the reason a lot of these Republicans condemn these comments is because they're a-okay with every single thing you can think of as being bad that he's done, but they don't like these tweets because they are unprofessional or these various statements he'll make. So they come out and try to grant and go, "This isn't the America I believe." It's like, no, these aren't the tweets that you like. Everything else he's doing, you're okay with. So you're an empty suit. So thank you for checking us out. I'll see you tomorrow.